It's no secret that many of us have been greening up our indoor spaces lately. But today, I'm not just looking at what plants to buy. I'm going to discover an unusual way to display them and learn a new skill. I'm taking a lesson from Tammy Huynh, a horticulturist, writer and educator who's mastered the art of kokedama. So, Tammy, what exactly is a kokedama?
Kokedama is like a poor man's bonsai, and literally translates to moss ball, and it comes from an ancient Japanese art of binding plants in a moss ball. So kokedama is a really great way to display more indoor plants indoors. You treat them like a hanging basket. You can hang them pretty much from anywhere, or if you like, just put them on a coffee table. So just a really great way to introduce more plants. They also make really great gifts, especially for people who have never, been into indoor plants before and they want to, because you'll see that once we do hold them, they're quite heavy because they're full of water. But once they dry out really light, that's when you know when to water them. So really good gift. And I think the really good thing about them is that they're really inexpensive to make. You can just go down to your local nursery, grab all the materials there. And the process in which we make them, really therapeutic as well, because you can sort of get lost in how you place the moss and then bind it with string. And I think it just is a good time out. And plus you're with plants, so it's a win-win.
What plants can you use for kokedama?
Most of the indoor plants that you see at nurseries can be used. So things like your monsteras or philodendrons, rubber plant, the umbrella tree is a really good one too, or even devil's ivy, which trails, so it's beautiful. So this is all we need to get started. So we've got some potting mix, pair of scissors, ball of twine, pair of stockings, moss, and of course our plants.
Now, is there anything specific about the potting mix?
So potting mix, no, because we are going to be using the general mix of indoor plants, just the premium quality potting mix is absolutely fine. So we get our plants, and what we do first is just give it a little squeeze, and that will just help loosen the root ball and allow it to just gently pop out. You can just lightly loosen the roots just to help it grow into its new space. So most people are really terrified when they start playing with the roots. They're like, oh my God, I can't break it. But actually, plants are really quite resilient, so you can just lose a few and break off a few if needed. So the traditional way to make kokedamas is with peat moss and bonsai mix, and then you mold it into a ball and it all sticks together. But this eliminates that. So you just take your stocking. I think the best thing about this technique is I like to keep it really basic. So the stockings are to help encase the roots and the soil. Use it like a glove, wrap it around your root ball, nice and encased, and it's already a rough ball anyway for you to work with.
Wow.
Then, because we want to make sure it's to scale, so you don't want a tiny little ball and a giant plant, that's when we add the potting mix. And I just use my hands. You can just stretch out the stocking. This part's always a little messy. And then just massage the new potting mix around.
This is really just a frame.
Yeah, that's it.
Hold.
That's why I like to use a stocking, because it's a lot easier to work with. So we take a bit of moss, wring out any excess moisture, and then flatten it out with your hands, and then just place it on there. So it really doesn't matter where you start. This is really just to help secure the moss onto the ball, securely enough that the string is taut.
I like how you're doing this with both hands. You're really conducting an orchestra here. It's like
Yeah,
moss,
I mean, it's quite involved.
string, soil, pom, 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 pom.
Oh, you do it. You say it so beautifully. I've never thought of it like that, but yeah, I guess it is. The stocking colour is great because it blends in really well. No one's going to, see if you've missed a spot, and you can go really any which way, and it's really just beauty in imperfection.
Apart from this moss, are there other materials that people could use to make a kokedama?
You can use natural things for a similar look, like a hessian bag. Just cut it up and then just wrap it around, tie it with the twine, and then go over it, haphazardly. Otherwise, you could also use melaleuca bark. Like that looks really cool too, and I think that makes a great feature for outdoors as well. This part's always a bit tricky because you have to get under a couple of the existing strings, because we're just going to tie a knot. And that's it. There's your kokedama.
Looks great.
So then to water it, we simply just dunk it in a bucket of water and let it just soak for about 10 minutes, and don't forget about it. And then when you're ready, just simply take it out, allow it to drip dry, put it on a bench or something because you don't want to really bring it back to the lounge room where it can drip all over the carpet or things like that.
The final step is attaching a couple of pieces of string to hang our kokedama.
So it's just another great way to introduce more plants to your space because now there's no excuse because, hey, now you can make use of the vertical space.
No excuse. There it is. Tammy said, you've got no excuses. Start hanging